What's up, Rangers? Welcome back to another episode of All the Country Parks, the show where we visit all the country parks within the UK. Today, I am ill, but that's besides the point. We're here at Hollingworth Lake Country Park. It's around the lake, which is at its centre. It's a lovely little place in Littleborough. Yes.
Hello, right, well this is the country park I know more about than any other because I used to live just about half a mile away from the age of 0 to 32, so I watched it develop, and I'll point out one or two things along the way, but just to give a bit of a brief history, it was designated a country park at the end of 1976, though of course it was a very popular tourist destination long before that, but Greater Manchester Council, as it was then, did a lot of work landscaping this area in particular. I'll tell you a bit more about that later, and built the first visitor centre, and it's been extended quite a bit since, but this bit here closest to us, that's where the original centre was. I'm not sure there's any of the original part of it left, or if they've completely rebuilt it. I'll have to check a photograph, but came here many times as a child, and yeah, I'll point out some historic features. Okay, now a little bit of history. Hollingworth Lake is not a natural lake. It was one of, I think, 7 reservoirs that were created to supply the Rochdale Canal in the early 19th century, and all the others are up on the right up on the moors, but Hollingworth Lake, because it's nearer to human habitation, developed as a sort of tourist resort after the need for the canal was, you know, not entirely obsolete, but was lessened. But because Hollingworth Lake is not as high as the other reservoirs, it needed a canal drain to feed the Rochdale Canal, and you can just about see its line on the hillside there, where you've got a sort of flat ridge. That actually is the canal drain, and it winds its way round there and then comes to a tunnel. So if you're watching this, Martin, I think that might be something that you might like to investigate in the future, the Rochdale Canal Tunnel. Okay, right. Yeah, they have hived off bits of the car park for a garden and a children's playground up there, but it's still pretty enormous, and except on summer Sundays it's probably bigger than they actually need, but yeah, you can't have too much parking. Right, now I first came here in 1973 or thereabouts. I was still in primary school then, and this area here was just a giant tip. It was the waste dump for the old Littleborough Urban District Council, and it was just like an open eyesore, really.
They use Oldham for that now, don't they?
Yeah. And obviously my mum didn't like me coming here because she thought I would get stuck in a fridge or something, but Greater Manchester Council had the idea to turn this area into, the centrepiece of their country park. I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be much more to it than a walk around the lake, because on all the other sides it's bounded by private farmland. But Loughborough Civic Trust, which I joined just about the same time that they opened the visitor centre, they did a lot of the work in preparing and doing surveys of visitors, that sort of thing. And they actually planted a tree here when the visitor centre was opened by the local MP, Lord Barnett, of the infamous Barnett formula for Scottish funding, same guy. And unfortunately the tree died. Also around the same time the centre opened, one of the trust members who'd done a lot of work preparing for the country park, he also died in a blizzard, and they were going to have a relief map in the centre to commemorate him, but that proved too ambitious, and eventually they just framed a copy of the South Pennines map with a little plaque at the bottom. But that's long gone now. In fact, the centre passed into the care of Rochdale Council when GMC was abolished, but in recent years it's been sold to the RSPCA, and now they have the visitor centre and operate a very nice cafe. We've just had omelette, popcorn, chicken and chips and cherry pie, and it was all very nice.
Brilliant. I heavily recommend it if you come here.
Okay. One other thing that they created was a nice path through the woods, so we'll go and have a look at that now. Yeah, as you can see, Simon is walking a lovely little path that they've created. I think this was created in the sort of late 70s, and it runs behind the visitor centre and comes out at a small hillock which gives you a nice view over the lake. Right, so as I promised, it does bring you to a nice view overlooking the lake through the trees, and yeah, you're out alongside the road to Higher Clegswood Farm, which has been seriously redeveloped in recent years. It was just an ordinary hill farm, but it's been considerably extended and tarted up. And you've got what was, for most of my lifetime, the Fisherman's Inn. It's now a wine bar, and it's called something else. Is it called the Wine Press or something like that? I'm not... Yeah. Hello. Yeah, when the country park was first started, myself and a friend called Michael Clark, and it was mainly his work actually, devised some little trails around the lake, and each one of them it had sort of points on the trail, and I insisted that this one was called the Carp Estuary because I was obsessed with getting my having something I'd named become accepted parlance. It never did, but that was just my ego, and eventually changed it to Bear Hill, which is a house there, which is much more sensible. But this is where people often stood to fish. I think the lake was a bit higher up then, but all of that pier thing and this barrier is completely new. But we used to sort of scramble down the bank and stand in here. And one time I came with my friend Stephen, and he gave me his father's fishing permit, and I was panicking all the time because I visited here so often. The wardens knew me, And so I thought, if they check the permits, they know I'm not called Peter Meehan. But fortunately, it never happened. But, you know, naughty people don't get rewards, of course, and we didn't catch a damn thing. Right, well, this illustrates the major problem with the park, and they still haven't resolved it. I think, it is unresolvable, really, 40, 50 years on, because here you have to share a narrow road with quite a bit of traffic, because beyond here is the settlement of Rakewood, Littleborough Rugby Club, and a big caravan park, and really they can't build any sort of path on this side of the lake to circumvent it, so you've just got to be careful. It sort of ruins the walk around the lake, really. That you're having to move to the side all the time. Yes, we're just taking a break here on what's called Lake Bank, looking over to the water activity centre from where the sailing club operates, and also the council hires out paddle boards and rowing boats and little electric boats, and we're going to take a ride on one shortly. And there used to be a steamer boat called the Lady Alice. I went on that as a child, which used to do a circular of the lake, but I believe it's in cold storage now. Cost too much to make it workable. And there are some other features which I'll point out once we're actually on board the boat, which Simon will be piloting. Now, as you can probably tell, we're afloat now on one of these little electric boats. Simon does love to be the skipper, so he's driving. Not too many other craft out on the lake. There's a group have had a pedalo boat out there, but other than that, we got it more or less to ourselves today. And yeah,
there's an evil goose over there.
More than one, actually. Yeah, so there's the wine press. The hill in the background you can see is Blackstone Edge, Robin Hood's Moor. At least the higher bit of it is. Then you go out to the lower and more smoother, lower. Is it Lowhouse Moor, I think? Oh, gosh, I'm beginning to forget. Yeah, and you can see the visitor centres down in that valley there, and you can see on the other side of the lake there's a smaller building which was built at the same time as the visitor centre, but has always been just a cafe. And on the hill behind that cafe there used to be a hotel. Now there's just a children's playground where one slid off a roundabout on leap year day 1976. Interestingly, that is the first day where I can remember exactly what I was doing on a particular date. 29th of February 1976. And yeah, further round there's a little building that used to be the training ship Palatine, where the sea cadets used to train, and it was fitted, the interior was fitted out like a boat, but how realistic it was without rocking and being directly on the water, I'm not quite sure. And that building in the trees there, that's interesting. That's Peanock Farm, but first it was a farm, then it was a hotel, then it went back to being a farm again. So the interesting history of the building. Just to the area just to the left of the cafe that we're looking at directly right now is designated as a nature reserve. You can walk along the edge of it on the lake circuit, but otherwise it's sort of a bit of a no-go area where there's lots of breeding birds that they like to encourage here. So yeah, that bit's out of bounds as far as the boat is concerned. Okay. But for now, I think that's pretty much it. So, do you want to do the outro while you're driving, Simon?
Yeah, sure. If you like this video, please leave a like. Obviously, subscribe and a comment. Make sure it's a nice one. Otherwise, I will throw you into the lake of which I'm currently driving on. It's dark, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's apparently notoriously cold. Channel swimmers have been here to train, and it is very, very cold. So don't take that threat idly.